This is the waiting room. Let's talk about the waiting room. This is the state of the common people nowadays, the people who don't have power, but who still have to somehow find a way to make a living. And it's obviously suboptimal, and you've all given up your dreams. The great American dream is dead. You're in this waiting room, just waiting and coping, feeding yourself the adequate brain chemicals to cope with this modern state. You go through religion and the ancient texts, and you go through modern discussions about the ancient texts, and then you go through made up imaginative discussions in people's brains being put out there and on the internet. You go through all of this information and you feel good about yourself, and sometimes you find something that contradicts it, and you will not inform yourself through those means because it will contradict your worldview. So maybe you will perhaps somehow seek for your ego to be diminished, and then you will be able to contradict that worldview, and you will realize that there's just as much truth on the other side. So then you will start to figure, what's the point of this? And then you will realize, oh yeah, wait, I forgot I was in the waiting room, which is where people are who are simply waiting for things to come to resolution, perhaps, or waiting for the door to open, and then you will be like, aha, now there is something to do, because right now there is nothing to do. For most of us, there is nothing to do, but suicide is not an option. What's it called? Euthanasia is not legal in most cases. You cannot just wait for some genocide to occur in which you happen to be the minority being scapegoated out of existence. So you have to find a way to cope and yet create some semblance of a meaning in this modern world, in this post-COVID world, in this post-9/11 world, the post-American world. And you can pick whichever illusion, whichever ideology you fit in with the most. But perhaps if your ego has been crushed enough times, you won't seek this. You will just enjoy the discussions being made, and you will find a community of people online and offline who are equally invested in living in this waiting room and making it as comfortable as possible. You will go hiking, you will go ski diving, you will go scrappy trapping, you will go hip boxing. You will do all these things to cope and to get your brain chemicals, and you will eat the healthy foods. You will subscribe to the products which are not the products of the past. These are the new products of the good capitalists who are trying to sell you a product which is superior to the products of the Nestle and the Kellogg's and the Apple computer. And you will go with the Tesla computer, and you will go with the Tesla robot, because that is the product of the enlightened capitalists. And you will feel no shame, and you will feel no guilt, and you will make $120,000 a year. You will make $250,000 a year, and you will go and buy your cappuccinos. And you will still be in this waiting room with the rest of us, with the homeless, with the people who lost their legs. We are in this waiting room with our hands up like, What's next for us humans, for this overpopulated earth? And it is overpopulated because we all get a sense of it. It's beyond words. It's unfortunate, but it is beyond words. It's like when you look around you and the weeds have grown out of whack because you haven't whacked them with the weed whacker. And you can deny it for a while, but after some time, after the pressures of this human competition and all of this Darwinian turbine we are we are sent into to fend off the narcissists and the psychopaths of our world, we do realize that there is an overpopulation problem, because we are not meant to live at a global scale in such a way without a very healthy worldview. Not that we've ever had that. So we will keep on chopping down the trees and exploiting the earths, pulling out those shiny minerals and pretending like they are worth something. And then we will buy the cryptocurrencies and we will say that it is money, even though it is just pieces of metal which are switched on either an on or an off position. And there's millions of these little pieces of metal that are switched on or off. And based on the number of ons and off and the order in which they are, it will tell you that this thing has value or not. So that is the new way of creating value, is pretending that there is value. That's the magic of our world. So we are in this waiting room, and the people who do have the connections and the power and the resources to do the change are pushing us further and further into a world where many of the people, perhaps a great majority of the people in the waiting room, will be turned into raw resources. We will be fed into this machine, because the dream of those who have won the great battles of our history and inherited and slowly, with the strategies of the Machiavellian mind, have gathered up all the resources, and now comes the time, the great judgment of the losers of our society, to be fed into the furnace, while the winners can gain their immortality through technology or whatever. So that is the dream. It's never going to be a reality. People optimistically look for this future, and that's why they strive for the heights in which they call themselves the winners, and they will look down upon the losers. Why? Because they never realize that their ego is creating an illusion which is destroying everything around them. But of course, it's got its own purpose, which is to survive. So you gotta diminish the things around you so that you can see the horizon, and then you can reach the horizon. So that's why you will crush your opponents, you will crush their ideas, you will keep on pushing forward and claim the genetic means to proliferate. You will claim the women. And if you're a woman, you will claim the man, and you will claim the resources, and you will claim all of the narcissistic supply. You will claim all of these things and put it in a little box. And then you're gonna run around naked with that little box in your hand with crazy eyes, while the rest of us in the waiting room look at you. And we won't even laugh. We will kind of feel ashamed that we are the same species in a way, because you're the one that created this world, and we might have in different circumstances been the ones creating it, but fortunately we weren't. We were just the spectators, and perhaps we'll have the last laugh once the hammer falls. The hammer of the gods falls on this earth once again, and we will see who is who. And the wolves dressed in sheep's clothing will be shown to be what they really are, which is weak, afraid, and wicked, with the stench of evil. And words of magic, beautiful words spoken by the people who would throw you under a bus and never look back. But yeah, this is the big race of our times, and we are in this waiting room with our colleagues and our lawyers and the guy who takes out your trash, which is probably me, probably was me yesterday. And then here we are mixed in this basket of diversity in the waiting room of the people who think they're going to make it through programming, and the people who think they're going to make it through investing, and the people who don't want to make it because they've caught on to the scheme and they just don't want to participate. But they will indeed enjoy a roast chicken with potatoes and a side salad and an overpriced piece of paper that you have to sign. And some people will hustle and bustle about and keep on rushing forward, and then they'll stop and they'll be confused, and some people will die. But this is all happening in the waiting room. Where are the keys to the door? How do we get out of the waiting room? Apparently we can't, because we set this machine in motion before the time we realize what it was. And this is not a deep video. We're not gonna dive deep. This is just a rant. I'm about to head out to Hattiesburg, buy some vitamins, because I'm one of these people in the waiting room where, even though I realize that this is all a game and a joke, like many have, and we can discuss all of these topics, we are still in a waiting room. And at the end of the day, it's not words that change the game. It's mass movements of people in ginormous herds with the weight of mountains that can crush entire cities and reclaim this planet. Not in the name of good or bad, simply because, wow, what a relief it would be to finally get out of this waiting room and start doing something that makes sense. Like perhaps, I don't know, maybe plant some things that you can later on eat and apply the knowledge of this incredible capitalist rush we had in the past couple hundred years. Use all of this knowledge so that you can finally look at a plot of forest and say, oh, I'm going to build a house there. And it's pretty ridiculous that anyone would stop me from building a house there, and claiming this lady over here wants to be with me and starting a family, making my own food. And then we will find our neighbors and be like, oh, we are similar and we're in similar circumstances, and there's bad people out there. So let's get together, and rather than fighting each other over our little plots of land, let's fight these guys who are still trying to regain a grip on us and keep on lying to us about our circumstances and keep on dragging this carrot above us like we're some kind of work animal. So perhaps once we're out of the waiting room, we can finally breathe and be like, oh, okay, at least in these last 20 years that I'll live, I will at least live like a human being and not like a dog or a battery, a AAA battery, or maybe like a gear or some kind of a slipper. You know, that's a common term, the slipper. You're the slipper guy. We all like slippers. Anyway, that's all I got to say.